Alright, hey everybody! Welcome to Chiustream. I'm really busy this week, but always super excited to come hang out with you guys and just hang out, do some talking, do some drawing, do some question answering. Big shout outs to a whole bunch of uh, my friends out there that I can see in the internet land. Especially big shout out to all the former in-house workshop students. I can see a whole bunch of you guys out there. Wykit, uh, Trin, who else did I see there? I saw. Who else did I see there? I just saw somebody. It was Alan. Saw Alan up there. Emily. Mara. Right on. And Brad Goldstein, veteran of the subway sketching. So right on, everybody. I'm super glad that you guys can make it out here. So why don't we start off by how we usually start off, by just giving us some shout outs to everybody that has that's made it onto the stream. So let me know where you're from, and I'll give you a nice shout out. Okay, so I could already see that Mexico is in the house, Malaysia, UK, Toronto, Singapore. Of course, Singapore's always in the house. Italy's always here. Germany, Dubai, right on. Bosnia, right on. Portugal, Zurich, Slovakia, Malaysia, Sweden, Italy, Brazil, Belgium, baby, Germany, Lansing, Michigan, right on. Philippines, England. All right, so that's great. That's really great to see. It's like more and more people are tuning in and everything from the Philippines, right on, Ireland, and it's fantastic. It's now that I've been doing streams and YouTube videos for a good while now, things are starting to change for the better. In the very beginning, I started putting on YouTube videos, and people would say, "Oh, thank you for the YouTube videos. I really enjoyed them, and now I'm drawing again." But now, since it's like 10 years later, 9 years, something like that, it's been a really long time, anyways. Now it's people coming to me saying, yeah, I listened to these things, I joined the stream years ago, and I adopted those practices of just constantly looking out for protecting that love of art that I have. And now it's led me to this. Now the success stories are coming in, so it's so awesome, so fantastic to just be a part of that a little bit. It's such an honor and such a wonderful, probably the happiest of the happy feelings that you can have is from giving, right? Giving to somebody else out there or people out there, and really feeling like you made a difference. That's a sort of happiness that can be contagious. So in the same kind of vein, what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be giving away this drawing that I'm going to draw for you guys while answering your questions. You can have a chance to win this drawing if you go to bit.do/June 12th Chiustream. Okay, June 12 Chiustream, and that will lead you to a Facebook page. And if you share that Facebook page, I will pick somebody at random at the very end to give this drawing to. Okay, sending out some positive vibes out there in the world, and hopefully hopefully it will affect somebody's life in a positive way. Right on. Okay, so also on that same link, you can write in questions, and I'll be happy to answer as many questions as I can. Last week I did pretty good. I answered pretty much everybody's questions, I think. Of course, this is the most important thing about listening to these streams or just listening to anything in general is that you have to still think about it for yourself. I'm going to be telling you the things that work for me and my own thoughts and philosophies on things, but only adopt them if it makes sense to you. Okay? That's pretty much a rule that I have for everything. Just because everybody is doing it this way doesn't mean that it's the right way. Does it make sense to you? Constantly rethink things. That's how evolution happens. Right? That's how we will find ways to really push the envelope. Okay. The other thing I want to mention was, Schoolism is helping Sketchbook Express, which is the free version of Sketchbook Pro, with their contest, by giving away $2,000 worth of free Schoolism classes, critique classes, self-taught classes, whatever you like, which is a phenomenal prize. Also I'll be critiquing some of the winners' works as well. So again, hopefully it will bring some positive change to some people out there. Okay, so I'm gonna have 1 foot here, claw, and 1 foot right over here. So the other thing I want to mention is TAFFE, which is the Toronto Arts Animation Film Festival International. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the acronyms are for, but it's a great event held by some great people. A bunch of them are my old classmates, actually, from college. So it's going to be great to see everybody. Come on down if you're in Toronto. Admission is free for the TAFFE market, which is kind of like, you can see art, you can meet artists live, and Steven Silver's going to be there. My good buddy Steven Silver's going to be there. Chaos Dare is going to be there. Chris Pern is going to be there, director of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2, which I thought was very funny. And he's a great friend as well. So a bunch of people are going to be there, so definitely try to make it out, especially if you're in Toronto, And the last thing I want to mention is I'm getting ready to go to Singapore! So, big shouts out to everybody in the Singapore area. If you want to come down, it's going to be great. It's called Start Singapore. It's on June 26th, 28th. Startevent.sg is the address. Okay? And it's going to be a bunch of people there. My good friend Alex Wu is going to be there, kicking some butt, passing on the good knowledge, and as well as a lot of others. I think Art Germ is going to be there. I'm not sure. So definitely check that out. If you have the means, do it. Go and do it. When you go to a good workshop, things change. Your whole perception of things changes at least a little bit, even with not so good workshops. A lot of times it will change a little bit. But if you do go to a great workshop, if you happen to go to a great workshop, man, it can really change you a lot and evolve you artistically in many ways, just by meeting and seeing and talking with these people. Sometimes not even talking, sometimes just watching them paint and draw. All of a sudden it's like you pick up on things, So definitely try to make it out for those things. Now, Hal had a great question to start off with. Okay, so I'm gonna go to some of his I'm going to go to some of his questions, or some of the questions. Okay, so what mistakes are the most common even amongst working professionals? I could tell you what is the most common. There's two. Okay, so one is that people stop learning. They stop actively going out there to learn, like through lessons. Instead, a lot of people, they'll be like, well, I'm learning through the job, which is great, which is true. However, when you take a class, you learn so much more, so much faster than just by practicing and doing your job. Actually, once I'm finished working on Through the Looking Glass, that's exactly what I plan on doing, is going heavy into taking a bunch of lessons, a bunch of classes, you know. And I'm not the type of person to say, oh, well, you know, I'm already doing well, I'm already getting jobs, so I don't need to do that. Because I believe that the best way to stay relevant, have a secure career, is to be that person that constantly learns. That lifetime student, you know? Student for life. When you're a student for life, you're constantly evolving, you're constantly getting ahead. When you are not, and you stop learning, like I stopped learning 3D, Maya, right? The last Maya I ever touched was 3.0. It's not that important to me, but obviously the whole world has kept going, has kept evolving, and now the things that I know from Maya are completely obsolete, probably. You know, it's changed dramatically. So number one thing is, generally I find that when people start working professionally, most of them will stop learning after about 4 years in the business. Most people actually stop taking classes, stop learning, and I think that is just setting yourself up. I really do. And the proof is because the world keeps changing. So what you knew 10 years ago is much less valuable than what you know now, right? If that's not clear enough proof for you, I don't know what is. If what you knew 10 years ago is not very relevant now, it's not as valuable now, well then, you know, what's going to happen when you stop learning after being in the business for like upwards of maybe 4 years? You might not feel it now, but you'll feel it, you know, decades from now, when you still need to work, when you probably have even more responsibility. And life is tricky. It kind of just is designed to do that to us. You know, when we need the money the most, when we're older and we have less energy and, you know, less patience and all this stuff and more responsibility, that's when life really just kicks us in the teeth for not being prepared all those years ago. So stay learning. Stay learning. That's probably the biggest mistake that people do, even amongst working professionals, is that they stop taking lessons, they stop reading books, they stop actively learning, right? Another huge thing, let me think here. Another huge thing is when people become successful in their careers, which, you know, which even a friend of mine, it happened to him. He started to become successful, and then when you become successful, what happens is you get more and more job offers, right? More than you're used to. See, in the beginning, you're not successful, nobody really calls you. That makes sense? So you don't have to worry about taking too much work. You're just worried about taking any work at all. Well, once you become successful, the demand for your stuff goes up and up and up, and all of a sudden you get all these great offers. And the big mistake that I see a lot of working professionals do is that they just try to say yes to everything. Therefore, they have less time to do anything, and all their stuff goes down in quality. Going down in quality makes people think, well, this wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting more, and then they won't call you the next time. Be very conscious of this. If you say no to somebody in the right way, where you tell them, I would love to work on this. However, I'm not going to because I don't have, the hardest thing about working together is, of course, it's the schedule. So because your schedule doesn't match up with mine, I can't take this job, even though I would love to do it. I would love to be able to contact you in the future, maybe once, twice a year, when I'm free, and see if you have something that we can work on together. That's how you do it. And then you'll see that they will really appreciate your very, your honesty. And they might just even trust you a little bit more. Definitely, there's been many times where, I might have met a person a long time ago and wanted to work together, always busy, whatever, right? And then years from now, all of a sudden, the timing is right and we start working together. See, the thing is, when you start getting in demand and you start doing this and you start telling people, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, that, will start to accumulate. And then all of a sudden you'll have, 20, 30 people that are all willing to work with you. It's just that the timing never worked out, right? And you've asked permission to contact them again. So when you do need to contact them, they are very open to getting that email. And if you have 30, 40 people on your list, or hopefully, not super many. I try to keep it around 20 people that I really would like to work with in the future. When you do that, then all of a sudden, at least one of them, usually 2 or 3, will come to you and say, okay, yeah, you just emailed, yeah, I have something for you. It almost becomes like a parachute. So when you have no jobs, when you are in danger, you can email that list and somebody will find you. It's not about taking every job. It's about growing a great relationship with new people that approach you. That's what it's about. Long-term relationships. You don't want to just work for somebody once, especially if they're a great person to work with. You want to be able to work with them again and again and again. It's like, even if the movie is bad, there's going to be people on that movie that are going to make another movie. And if you did well and you tried your hardest, you will be called back. Very likely. Through the Looking Glass, I know I'm on that film because I worked on Alice in Wonderland, right? And this is the sequel. If I didn't do a good job, if I took too many jobs at the time, I didn't do a really good job on the film, then they probably wouldn't have called me back. So Shiab wrote, have you ever considered making Nico a video game, and which console would you prefer? So, for those of you that don't know, Nico is referring to Nico and the Sword of Light, which is an animated comic book that Imaginism made, that we made with my buddies from Studio NX. Did quite well. I was very, very proud of this project. It's an independent project. And it was one of its first, the first fully 2D animated every panel, comic book. So that was fantastic. Have I ever, we've definitely talked about the possibilities of making it into a video game. But again, it's kind of like one of those things where you don't want to take on too many things. You don't want to take on too many jobs. Especially, here's another tip. Especially don't, be very careful with doing things that are going to have to be maintained. So after you're done, you still have things to do. You still have to go and do those things every week or whatever it is. It's not like don't do them. Just like this stream here. It's not like I'm not going to do this just because I'm saying, okay, well, then I would have to do this stream every week. But instead, pick these things a lot more carefully. If you start a website, say, and this website needs management, be very careful of that, because all of a sudden, it's going to take up regular time in your schedule. Make sure that these things that take up regular time in your schedule are worth it. Okay, that is a huge one in my books. Okay, so let's go to Shren. Are there times when you realize that you might not really like drawing, even though being an artist is totally what you want to be, and it takes a while to get in the zone? Yes, definitely. Just want to know if everyone goes through this. Can't wait for start. Can't wait for the Singapore workshop. Can't wait as well. You know why? Because I get to see old friends, and it's going to be great hanging out with Shren and Wykit and whoever else comes along. It's going to be awesome. Yes, definitely. Everybody goes through those times where they don't feel like drawing, even though they totally want to be an artist. Takes some time to get into the zone. You know what I do? You just gotta sit down and just gotta put your pencil in your hand and just start moving it around. Just today, I didn't really feel like drawing too much, but you just put your pencil to paper, your pen to paper, or whatever it is, and just start doing stuff, and I usually come around after that. If you don't, if you're still struggling, what I'd say is copy something that you like. Do a study, because that's very no-brainer kind of thing, or a lot, not no-brainer, but some things that slow you down the most is just actually thinking of what to draw, I find. I don't know about you guys. Yeah, but I find that a lot. So do those practices. I would say if you're having trouble, and for the most part, do practices regularly. And when you are practicing, you have, and when you're just painting in general, try to always think to paint to improve, not painting to do, to accomplish, painting to improve. So it starts to make you think, what can I improve on by doing this? What can I improve on by doing that? Hopefully it'll help you pick out better jobs as well. But an ever improving artist always paints with the intention of doing better than your average. Okay? An ever improving artist always paints with the intention of doing better than his or her average. Really great tip that Nathan Fowkes told me was that he was saying he always tries to paint thinking that it's a demo, like that there's people behind him watching, trying to learn. It makes you really stop goofing off, and makes things go faster, makes you more methodical with your painting, because when you're teaching, you generally have to say what it is you're doing, why are you doing that, why are you doing this, and then you have to think about it. You know, when you're just painting for yourself, you don't really have to think about these things. I thought that was a really great tip, you know, from Nathan Fowkes. Oh, by the way, a really great opportunity. I don't know if it's still open right now, but yesterday we opened a brand new class, very highly anticipated class for Daniel Arriaga. He is a Pixar character designer for over 10 years. You know, he's worked at Pixar, and he's teaching a class all about designing characters for animated films. And you would be learning straight from, you know, Daniel Arriaga, a person that works for Pixar, that designs characters for their films. You know, and getting that kind of insight is a really special, really incredible thing. And seeing this person drawing on top of your stuff is magical. You know, so if you have the means, I would definitely recommend that. The first class sold out really quick, so we opened up a new class, registering right now. And yeah, get in on it before it sells out as well. You know, most learning is fast forwarded, hyper levels of fast forward, when you can see somebody that really knows their stuff, proven, and draws over top of your stuff, drawing over top of your art, explaining what it is that they would like to change, what it is that they would like to do differently. It's really something special, so I hope somebody does take advantage of that. That's what I didn't like about, you know, teaching in college. I loved teaching in college, but I hated the fact that I couldn't get to every student every day. You know, every class that where people come in, you know, starts off with a lecture, and then we do application. We start, you know, actually drawing and everything, and I would go around asking to see everybody's stuff and then drawing over top of it, and you could just see the light bulbs just turning on. You know, after I tell them, oh, you know, if you do this and this and this, then you won't have so much trouble with your structure and things like that. Or this type of a pose, you just see people go, oh, and then they do it, and then they got it, you know? Unfortunately, a lot, you know, every time I would start my class giving a lecture. Now this lecture, you know, I had upwards of 5 classes, 5 different classes, all same subject, right? 5 groups of students. And with every group, I would have to give the same lecture. I thought that was so dumb. You know, why? Because they've invented things called tape recorders and video recorders years, decades ago, that could totally record the perfect lecture. You know, why do I have to keep going over the same lecture over and over again? And you know what? When you're doing live lectures, you're doing 5 of them straight. The first one isn't as good as the second one. The second one isn't as good as the third one. And the last one is always the best. So people in my last class would be essentially getting a better education than the people in my first class. Anyways, you know, I would love to see time being used a lot more effectively for students and everything, especially because you know, students pay a lot of money for education, especially in college, you know, things like that. They pay so much more. So, you know, why not try to make it as effective as possible? I don't get it. Anyways, so KD asks a question from the Philippines. Right on. So I have my pen and sketchbook and my drawing tablet in front of me now. Give me something to draw like you like how you do before. Sure, you know, what I'm doing here is maybe you can think of something to draw like the one that I'm drawing. So I was thinking of kind of like a cute-faced creature with a dangerous kind of body, claws and things like that. So maybe cute but dangerous is the topic. You know, cute but dangerous. So let's go to the next one here. Josh, what's your thoughts on the Cintiq companion? Worth to have for travel? Yes, definitely. I'm a bit of a technology gadget junkie, so you know, that's a great question. I'm totally the person to ask because I have the 12-inch normal Cintiq that came out before the companion. I have the companion, 12-inch Wacom companion that you can draw on the screen, and it's its own computer. And then I have a Surface Pro 2, even though they just came out with the Surface Pro 3. But I also have a Surface Pro 2, which is a smaller screen, more compact, even more convenient to travel around with. So the one that I would pick would be the Wacom Companion. I feel like if I'm working on a screen smaller than 12 inches, then it's too small for professional work. If I work on a screen, that's why I kind of like the Surface Pro 2 because it's a lot easier to move around and to travel with. But drawing wise, I feel like the screen is a little too little for drawing professional work, unless it's like storyboarding, you know, something a little rougher, something that doesn't have to be as precise. Then I would totally use the Surface Pro. But if you're doing full out paintings, illustrations, things like that, I would so recommend the Wacom Companion. There's also the hybrid, which I don't have because okay, the difference is the hybrid needs a computer. Otherwise, it's just like a tablet or something like that, more like an iPad. But the companion, that is like a laptop where you can draw right on the screen, and it's in the shape of a big tablet. It's fantastic. You know, so definitely recommended. Gets my 2 thumbs up. Do you have, this is from Toby, do you have any eureka moments drawing? Do you have any eureka moment drawings or artworks? Ones where you felt that you stepped it up in a new area or hit a level of skill you were striving for? Yeah, actually I do. Every time, you know, it's mostly during times where I have to do research for something, you know, where it's not just as easy as just drawing it out of your head. Because when you start doing research, well, then you're actively going out there to find info, right? And just by that sentence itself, you can understand why you would tend to make more leaps in your art. It's because you're searching for more information. Great art comes from life. It's a reflection of life in one way or another, some sort of aspect of life in one way or another. Even abstract art deals with emotions and things that are from life, right? So, how to make the best leaps and jumps is you gotta go to the source of all art, life itself, and think about it, study it, whatever it is, make discoveries. If you can do that on a constant, you'll see that your skill level will jump up dramatically. If you're just copying things though, it won't jump up dramatically. So I do need to say that it really depends on also, like, how hard are you trying? How hard are you thinking? You know, if you're just kind of, you know, looking at something and doodling it without really giving it much thought, then your drawings will come out worse, and you won't learn as much. And honestly, you know, doing these talks while drawing, I don't learn as much. I don't feel like these drawings are as good as my normal drawings where I just sit there and really concentrate on things. I know they're not as good because, you know, then I'm learning, you know, I'm thinking to learn about something. I'm thinking to improve about on something, and I'm more concentrated, right? When you're more concentrated when you're drawing, a lot of times you might get even more frustrated because of that. But frustration is kind of like when your muscles are frustrated from lifting a big weight. It's because you're lifting that big weight now. You know, so, you know, make sure that you are thinking very hard, thinking to understand, concentrating. Okay, so Katie has another question here. When I draw dynamic complex poses, it takes really long time for me to do it, but eventually I would nail the whole pose. Is it okay? Because I just feel like it's just luck. I see the teacher in Nomon DVDs just nail the complex pose or on the first try and does it very technical. Any tips on doing complex poses? Yeah, well, the body moves in certain ways. There's certain limitations to the body and things like that. So we have to learn these things. And there's classic kind of poses that things do. And I'm saying things because it includes animals. You know, when you look at a dog, it does certain poses. It does a sitting pose. You know, it does a lying down pose. It does a running pose. You know, it has all these classic repeating poses. So once you get familiar with those, once you really, you know, get familiar with those, then you've started to kind of create a visual library of all these classic kind of movements of the anatomy of a person, of a, you know, little girl or a grandmother and things like that. Once you start developing a nice little library, well, then drawing poses, you know, out of your head becomes so much easier because you have a library to choose from or to reference from in your head, and you alter little bits here and there and becomes a completely new pose, right? So for drawing things out of your head, first look to copy just constant natural, like constant repetitive poses, and start to grow your posing library, your mental library in your head. You know, then you'll start to understand how to make it just out of your head, just from the top of your head, you know, without any reference or anything. It's all about that reference library. Okay, so Jip Jansen, awesome name. I feel like the art world likes characters or character-related things much more than backgrounds or color scripts. I'm a big fan of Nathan Fowkes. I'm an animation student myself, and I really like drawing backgrounds more than characters. What's your opinion about this? Jip, you know what? Nathan has tremendous demand for what he does. Okay? So that's number one. That the art world needs environments. The movie world needs environments, needs people understanding the fundamentals of light and shadow and composition and things like that of environments. So do what you're passionate about. Really just dive into it and, you know, strive for your potential in that thing. Okay, and really just don't worry about it. You know, when I was in school, it was like not a lot of people went for character design. Not a lot of people went for character design in, in my class. Um, I think at the time everybody was totally into animation, and I found that things go in waves. Actually, some of you, that might be in school and things like that, you might be able to confirm this. A lot of times, and I've heard the same thing from, people that work at DreamWorks or Pixar and things like that, that sometimes what happens is one year a student from whatever school makes a film and gets into animation at some big studio and everybody's jealous, right? Or everybody's very envious and they would love to do the same. Then the next year comes around and the new graduating year, they're all going after animation just because the person the year before got into animation for something really cool, for a really nice studio. I see that happening all the time. People that get into character design, and all of a sudden everybody wants to be a character designer. The point here is that things change, people's ideas change, people's interests change, trends change. So best thing to do is just to stick to what you love and try to keep figuring out how to make a living out of what it is you love. Because either way, if you just go after the trends keep changing, and you might not even enjoy it. So stick to what you know and try to figure out how you can make what you know into something that can really support you and support your art. Nick asks, is there a question you would like students to ask more often? Yeah, you know, I think for the most part, like everybody that asks all these questions here, it's great. It's not about students, asking questions. It's just about people asking questions. People should ask questions more. Number one, it tells the person that you're asking the question to that you're interested in them. You're interested in what they do or what they know, right? So it's nice. A lot of people, they like to share, their knowledge and everything, especially the older people, right? Because they feel like they have something to give back. So, hey, I'm definitely willing to listen if somebody wants to tell me what they've learned. It's great. It doesn't matter if you're a student, doesn't matter if you're professional, whatever. And if you have questions, definitely ask them, because a lot of times I would totally give you the information. It's just that I didn't think about it. And a lot of times a question that you might have might totally pertain to somebody else, but they didn't think about it either. So ask the questions, because somebody else just might be very thankful that you did. Now, Shiab writes again, so I've been working on a comic book for the last 4 months, and it's my very first comic book, and I'm afraid about the final result at the end, whether it'll sell or not. So my question is, have you ever had a hard time making Nico and the Sword of Light? Yes, definitely. It took 2 years on and off, during our free time, and it was really grinding it out. The whole entire thing with Nico and the Sword of Light is that it's a big thing. It's something that we never attempted before. And when you come across projects or challenges like that where you've never done it before, but it has a lot of potential, you're bound to run into a lot of problems. I guess our biggest problem was before we put out the app, we're already contacted by Apple and a bunch of other people, that were really excited just from seeing the preview off of our Kickstarter. We didn't even tell Apple that we were developing the app, and somebody called us, or reached out to me to figure out what is this app that we're making and everything. So, after that conversation, after that very positive conversation, I was thinking, awesome, when we put this thing out, it's going to get featured by Apple, right? So then, 2 years, we finished the thing, we put it out, we're excited, nothing happens. We sell a little bit, but, that's just through our own connections. It's not getting viral, it's not doing anything. It seems like a bit of a failure. And this goes on for 3 weeks. But the thing is, the thing that really, really helped was that, I let everybody know, and everybody was down. I let everybody know, saying, we're bound to cross a lot of problems. So be ready for them. And when they happen, stay positive when they happen. Because otherwise, the result of, having that problem will drastically change. It'll change from not being positive and just going, oh man, this sucks, we worked so long and so hard, now it failed, this and that, grumpy, whatever. That kind of mood is not going to bring success very often, right? So instead, we are ready for it. And when you're ready for it and problems come, and we go, okay, here's the problem, here's one of the problems that we were anticipating. So everybody stay positive. Everybody stay positive, and everybody work even harder. Because guess what? Our goal for this project, when the project is done, is not when we have the app approved and we put it out there. No. It's when we see, the fruits of our labor in our bank accounts. That's when it's over. So, the first week passes. Nothing happens. It's dribbling in these sales. It wasn't that bad. It was still like, 1,000 something. But it wasn't as anticipated. It wasn't viral yet. Then, 3 weeks later, get another call from Apple, and the person saying, I saw that you updated your app a bit. I would suggest approving that app and making the updates live right now. I thought that was kind of funny, so I looked at the site, the app store. It's featured. And then from there, within days, all of a sudden it's featured as the feature app in the, iTunes App Store in over 21 countries, hit number 1 in over 30 some odd countries. And I have no doubt it's because we stayed positive and we kept going. In the face of defeat, when normally we'd have every reason to think we were defeated and this thing was a failure, and we kept going past the point of failure. And that's when life tends to reward you. That's when life rewards you. When you have a purpose, you stand by it. Because something special happens when you show an undying drive to achieve a goal. That's what happens. So, you're having a hard time, Shab. You're having a hard time creating your first comic book. Yeah, you should have a hard time because it's your first one. That's the test that life will give all of us to determine whether or not you should be a part of this wonderful, career as an artist, as a comic book artist or whatever. You're bound to get that test. But what's the worst that can happen? You're not gonna die. You'll be able to keep drawing. So just keep going. All you can do is just try your hardest, put in that time, put in that effort. What the thing turns out looking like in the end doesn't matter. And, as long as you tried your hardest. And even if it doesn't do that well, then perhaps, you should just make another one. Because that's, those are the traits of a successful person, a person that doesn't stop. If they truly get blocked, then they just find another way. They just find another route. Okay, Natasha, I've heard you say that that's important to think while you're drawing, even when drawing from a copy or life. But what do you mean? So what I mean is, you're looking at something and you're going, or you're drawing something and you're going, why should it be that dark? Why am I looking at that in this way? Why is there a highlight there? Question it all. Try to make sense of it. When you make sense of it, then you can create it yourself. When you can create it yourself, now you've become a creator of things and not a copier of things. Question everything. So as I'm drawing a leg, I'm thinking, does that leg feel like it's supporting the whole body? As I'm drawing this hair, I'm thinking, does this hair feel soft enough? Things like that. Okay. So we have about 8 minutes left for a chance to win this drawing here. All you have to do is go to the link here, share the link, and I'll pick somebody at random in about 8 minutes time and give it to somebody. Okay, so let's go to Brad Goldstein. Hey Brad, how's it going? So it's really great seeing you do the Chiustream every week again. My question is about portfolio review. Is there an opportunity to run a portfolio by an artist you admire for review with respect to character design, concept art? What would be your recommendation about what you would show to such an artist, especially if you have a bunch of sketchbooks with potential pieces for such a portfolio? As well, what would be your best approach in your opinion? So, where to go, how to get somebody that you respect to look at your portfolio? I'd say go to conventions. That's pretty much the best way. Comic conventions, animation conventions, things like that. Hey, since you're in Toronto, since I know you're in Toronto, come to the Taffy Market. Have Steven Silver look at your stuff. He's doing portfolio reviews, and if you want, I'll review your stuff as well. How to put together such a portfolio. Don't put in over 20 pieces. If it's endless, a person's not going to really look at it, or not want, they might not want to look at it as much, simply because there's just too much stuff. Even if your artwork is absolutely, floored amazing, still I just put in 20 pieces. Because if they want to see more, you want to be able to whip out more and show them more. And show, like, as if you do this all the time, every day, no problem, just pulling out amazing paintings out of your butt, at any time. And then I would put my best piece first, my worst piece, or my second best piece last, my third best piece right in the middle, my fourth best piece right between my first best piece and the middle, and my fourth best piece between the middle and the end, and so on and so forth. This will create an overall even experience, because you don't want to put your best stuff right in the beginning and your worst stuff in the end. When people get to the end, they feel disappointed in the end. If you put all your best stuff in the end and your worst stuff in the beginning, they might not even get to the end because they don't want to look at your worst stuff. When you do the best in the beginning, your second best in the end, your third best in the middle, and so on and so forth, you're really evening out everything so that it's a nice experience looking through your portfolio. Okay. How can you build a good reputation in the art animation industry? I'm still on the first and second year of my career, and I pretty much made a lot of mistakes, especially negotiating with clients, managing time and financial stuff. I think you mentioned a while ago about accepting projects that you cannot handle within your schedule. That's something I'm having trouble with as well. Another question is, how about copyrights? Okay, so first thing is, made a lot of mistakes, especially dealing or negotiating with clients. Ressa, think about everything that you're saying from the employer's point of view. This takes practice, and it should be developed into a habit. It should be practiced with others. If somebody approaches you, or you approach somebody and you say, I'm going to do your little logo for $200 or whatever it is, perhaps it's in the beginning, I don't know. Okay, but say it's something that's not a huge deal, and you make a huge deal out of it with negotiating for every penny, elaborate contracts, things like this. A lot of times you want to think about it from the employer's point of view. Sometimes people don't mind big contracts or whatever and lots of negotiating, but a lot of times they might be concerned. I didn't do every job with a contract. I know everybody says have a contract when you do every job, but a lot of times it's just through emails. Yeah, I'm trying to think if Imagine FX ever gave me any contracts. I don't think so. I don't think I signed anything. I just accepted their job, and then I painted their cover for the magazine, But as well, you need contracts to protect you when you feel like you need protection. Especially when you feel like you need protection, or probably protection for the long run, or in the future. The best advice I could give you really is the advice I just gave you, which was think about everything from the employer's point of view when you're talking with them and everything, and make sure that after you start thinking about everything from the employer's point of view, that you still like what you're saying. That even though you're thinking about it from the employer's point of view, you still like yourself. You still like the things that you're saying. If you don't, if you feel annoyed, if whatever, you're not saying the right things. A lot of times people will think that they are really thinking about everything through the employer's point of view or through somebody else's point of view, but they're not. So something to practice, something that kind of needs to be practiced to get better at. Okay. So let's go to another one. Okay, so Crystal asks, I'm not so great with technical measurements and was interested in knowing if you have any advice on that subject. Not sure where to begin when thinking about that. I was wondering, how important is measurement and scale for projects in the professional industry? It depends what you're doing. If you're doing things that are more organic, then you definitely have more kind of leeway. If you make a branch too long, it's not going to be a big deal. If you make a car too long, it might be a big deal. You know, so industrially made things tend to need accurate measurement. However, you are an expert in knowing what is right and what is wrong, because you've had years and years of experiencing life and seeing perfect perspective, perfect structure, perfect lighting, things like this. Instinctively, you should know what is right or wrong. Just kind of look at it as a whole. Try to look at it as if it's three-dimensional. It doesn't make sense if it's supposed to be, you know, very structured and three-dimensional. When I paint things, I don't measure them out. I might draw a loose grid to keep things in perspective, and actually that helps a lot. But I usually just look at it and go, does it look right? One of my first assignments in classical animation was to draw 10 cubes, rotating and floating in space. Some are closer to you, some are further away. That was really great, because in the end he said, just because lines converge to a point doesn't make it a cube. Doesn't make it a cube that's in perfect perspective. You know, so you want things to look natural. You don't want to force things just because then it makes sense with the laws of perspective, things like that. Because you can have them too forced, and then just it doesn't look right. So half of it is trusting your instincts. Half of it is through your knowledge of that thing that you're painting or drawing. Okay, I'm gonna try to finish up. Any other questions? I think that's pretty good. So why don't we... Oh, I also want to mention that I'm going to, I'm going to Asia. So I'll be gone for about 2 weeks. And so that means that the next Chiustream, the next stream will be in July. It'll be July the 3rd. I'll make sure I send out a newsletter, Schoolism newsletter, so make sure that you sign up for the Schoolism newsletter, and I'll be sure to, email you guys to let you know that's coming. And let's pick a winner, okay, for this drawing. Okay. Okay, so just going to open up all these shares and then just randomly scroll and stop at one. Let's do this. Okay, so the winner is, oops. Hey, it's Brad Goldstein. Right on. All right, Brad. Well, yeah, congratulations. I'm really glad that you won the drawing and everything. If you're going to Taffy, let me know, and then I will. I'll bring the drawing there. That way, I don't have to mail it out to you. Okay, so congratulations to Brad Goldstein, and thanks to everybody for coming out, showing up, and especially if you ask some questions, things like that. Okay, hope to see a bunch of you at Taffy, the market. And also, Saturday night in Toronto after Taffy, it's going to be a party. So if you want to have some drinks with me, hang out, I would love that. Okay? So, and then for everybody else that's in the Singapore area, love to see you guys too towards the end of this month. Okay? So this is Bobby Chew signing off. I'm going to see you guys early July back on the Chiustream. Definitely go to schoolism.com and sign up for the newsletter to keep in the know. All right? All right, everybody. Well, have a great, wonderful Thursday, and we'll speak soon.